morning, everyone. I warmly welcome to this special lecture series for today and tomorrow. I want to thank Professor Sheshagiri for organizing or for bringing this special lecture to our department. As I have said, though he has retired from this department, he is still keeping himself active, and he has been doing so many things for the department. So I want to thank him in a very special way for all these programs that he has been doing for the program. And today and tomorrow we have a special lecture program. Today we have two lectures to be given by r.sachidananda and also Anjanamurthy, and I think Professor Chandrasekhar Talliya sir will tomorrow. Okay. So yes sir. So to commemorate 112th birth anniversary of Professor S.S. Raghavachar and 104th birth anniversary of Professor H.T. Santa. They were very popular professors in their time. They have been preaching and then teaching philosophy to the extent of satisfying everybody. I am very sad.
ಈ ವಿಭಾಗದ ಹಿಂದಿನ ಮುಖ್ಯಸ್ಥರಾದಂತಹ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಪ್ರೊಫೆಸರ್ ಎಸ್ ವೆಂಕಟೇಶ್ ಅವರು ಕೂಡ ಬಂದಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅವರು ಕೂಡ ಸ್ವಾಗತವನ್ನ ಕೋರ್ತೀನಿ. ಹಾಗೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಅನೇಕರು ನನ್ನ ಗುರುಗಳು ಪ್ರೊಫೆಸರ್ ಎಂ.ವಿ. ಶ್ರೀಧರ, ಪ್ರೊಫೆಸರ್ ಮ್ಯಾಥಮೆಟಿಕ್ಸ್, ನನ್ನ ಸಹಪಾಠಿ, ನನ್ನ ಸ್ನೇಹಿತರಾದಂಥ ಚಂದ್ರಶೇಖರ ತಾಳಿಯ, ಆಮೇಲೆ ಪ್ರೊಫೆಸರ್ ಶಾಂತ ಅವರ ಸೋದರ ಸೊಸೆ ರಮಾ ಅಂತ, ಅಂಜನಾ ಅವರ ತಾಯಿ. ಹಾಗೆ ನಿಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ತುಂಬ ಹೃದಯದ ಸ್ವಾಗತವನ್ನ ಕೋರ್ತೀನಿ. ಈಗ ಮುಖ್ಯ ಅತಿಥಿಗಳು ಭಾಷಣ ಮಾಡೋದು ಮುಂಚೆ ಎರಡು ಮಾತನ್ನ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ. ಮೊದಲನೇದಾಗಿ ಪ್ರೊಫೆಸರ್ ಎಸ್.ಎಸ್. ರಾಘವಾಚಾರ್ಯ ಅವರ 112ನೇ ಆನಿವರ್ಸರಿಯನ್ನು ನಾವು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ. ಪ್ರೊಫೆಸರ್ ಎಸ್.ಎಸ್. ರಾಘವಾಚಾರ್ಯರು 1938ರಲ್ಲೇನೆ MA ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು. 41-42 ತನಕ ಸಂಶೋಧನೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಅವರು ಬೋಧನೆಗೆ ತಮ್ಮನ್ನು ತಾವು ಒಪ್ಪಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರು. ಅನೇಕ ಕಾಲೇಜುಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ದಾವಣಗೆರೆ, ಶಿವಮೊಗ್ಗ, ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ಮುಂತಾದ ಕಡೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡಿದ ಮೇಲೆ ಪ್ರೊಫೆಸರ್ ನಿಕ್ಕಮ್ ಅವರು ಮಹಾರಾಜ ಕಾಲೇಜಿನ ಹೆಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಡಿಪಾರ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಆದಾಗ ಪ್ರೊಫೆಸರ್ ರಾಘವಾಚಾರ್ಯ ಸುಮಾರು 1956ರಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದರು. ಪ್ರೊಫೆಸರ್ ರಾಘವಾಚಾರ್ಯರು ತುಂಬಾ ದೊಡ್ಡ ವಿದ್ವಾಂಸರು. ಸಂಸ್ಕೃತ, ಕನ್ನಡ, ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷ್, ಅವರ ಲುಕ್ಗೆ ಯುರೋಪಿಯನ್ ಲುಕ್ ಬಹಳ. ಅವರು ಯಾವಾಗ ಕ್ಲೋಸ್ ಕಾಲರ್ ಕೋಟಲ್ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು. ಅವರ ಭಾಷಣ ಕೇಳೋದಕ್ಕೆ ತುಂಬಾ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿರ್ತಿತ್ತು. ಅವರು 1 ಗಂಟೆ ಮಾತಾಡಿದ್ರು ಕೂಡ ಕೇವಲ 10 ನಿಮಿಷ ಮಾತ್ರ ಆಗೋಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಅನಿಸ್ತಿತ್ತು, ಅಷ್ಟು ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಿದ್ರು. ಅವರನ್ನ ಇಡೀ ಇಂಡಿಯಾದ ತತ್ವಶಾಸ್ತ್ರ ವಿಭಾಗಗಳು ಬಲ್ಲರು. ನೀವು ದಕ್ಷಿಣ ಭಾರತ ಮದ್ರಾಸ್ಗೆ ಹೋಗಿ ಅವ್ರ ಹೆಸರು ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಬಹಳ ಗೌರವದಿಂದ ಅವರು ಹೌದು ಗೊತ್ತು ಅವರು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಉತ್ತರಕ್ಕೆ ಕಾಶಿಗೆ ಹೋಗಿ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಅಲ್ಲೂ ಅವರು ಪ್ರಸಿದ್ಧರು. ಪೂರ್ವದ ಪುರಿಯಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಪ್ರಸಿದ್ಧರು. ಪಶ್ಚಿಮದ ಅಹಮದಾಬಾದ್, ಗುಜರಾತ್ ಯೂನಿವರ್ಸಿಟಿ, ಬಾಂಬೆ ಯೂನಿವರ್ಸಿಟಿ ಅಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ ಅವರು ಬಹಳ ಪ್ರಸಿದ್ಧರು. ಅವರು ಅನೇಕ ಭಾಷಣಗಳನ್ನ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಸ್ಥಳಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅವರಿಗೂ ರಾಮಕೃಷ್ಣ ಪರಮಹಂಸರ ಆಶ್ರಮಕ್ಕೂ ನಂಟು ಜಾಸ್ತಿ. ಅವರು ರಾಮಕೃಷ್ಣ ಪರಮಹಂಸರ ಭಕ್ತರು. ಅವರ ಕೆಲವು ಪುಸ್ತಕಗಳು ರಾಮಕೃಷ್ಣ ಆಶ್ರಮದ ವತಿಯಿಂದಲೇ ಪ್ರಕಟವಾಗಿವೆ. ಅವರು ಅನೇಕ ಗ್ರಂಥಗಳನ್ನು ಬರೆದಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ರಾಮಾನುಜಾದಿ ಗೀತಾ, ರಾಮಾನುಜಾದಿ ಉಪನಿಷತ್ಸ್, ಹೀಗೆ ಅನೇಕ ಗ್ರಂಥಗಳು. ಏನಪ್ಪ ಅವ್ರ ವಿಶೇಷ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅವರು ಒಂದು ರೀತಿ ಆಟುಮುಟ್ಟದ ಸೊಪ್ಪಿಲ್ಲ ಅನ್ನೋ ಹಾಗೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಶಾಸ್ತ್ರಗಳ, ಅದು ವಿಶಿಷ್ಟಾದ್ವೈತವಾಗಿರಲಿ, ಅದ್ವೈತವಾಗಿರಲಿ, ದ್ವೈತವಾಗಿರಲಿ, ಕಾಶ್ಮೀರ್ ಶೈವಿಸಮ್ ಆಗಿರಲಿ, ಎಲ್ಲದರ ಮೇಲೆ ಕೂಡ ಅವರು ಎಲ್ಲರಲ್ಲೂ ಅವರು ನಿಷ್ಣಾತರಾಗಿದ್ದರು. ವಿಶಿಷ್ಟಾದ್ವೈತದ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ವೇದಾಂತ ಸಂಗ್ರಹ ಆಗಲೇ ಹೇಳಿದಾಗೆ ಇಂಟ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಟು ವೇದಾಂತ ಸಂಗ್ರಹ, ಹಾಗೆಯೇ ಇನ್ನೂ ಅನೇಕ ವಿಶಿಷ್ಟಾದ ಗ್ರಂಥ ಬರೆದಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅದರ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಸುರೇಶ್ವರಾಚಾರ್ಯರ, ಅದ್ವೈತದ ಆಚಾರ್ಯ ಸುರೇಶ್ವರರು ನೈಷ್ಕರ್ಮ್ಯ ಸಿದ್ಧಿ ಗ್ರಂಥವನ್ನು ಬರೆದಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅದನ್ನ ಪ್ರೊಫೆಸರ್ ರಾಘವಾಚಾರ್ಯ ಅವರು ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷಿಗೆ ಭಾಷಾಂತರ ಮಾಡಿ ಟಿಪ್ಪಣಿಗಳನ್ನು ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಬಹಳ ಪ್ರಸಿದ್ಧವಾಗಿದೆ ಗ್ರಂಥ. ಹಾಗೆಯೇ ದ್ವೈತ ವೇದಾಂತದ ಮೇಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಅವರ ಕೃತಿಯಿದೆ, ವಿಷ್ಣು ತತ್ವ ವಿನಿರ್ಣಯ. ನಾವು ಪ್ರೊಫೆಸರ್ ರಾಘವಾಚಾರ್ಯರನ್ನ ಕೇವಲ ವಿಶಿಷ್ಟಾದ್ವೈತಿಗಳು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ, ಕೇವಲ ದ್ವೈತಿಗಳು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ, ಕೇವಲ ಅದ್ವೈತಿಗಳು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ. ಅವರು ಎಲ್ಲವನ್ನ ಅರಳಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರು. ಅಂಥವರು ಈ ವಿಭಾಗವನ್ನ ಕಟ್ಟಿದರು. ವಿಭಾಗವನ್ನ ಕಟ್ಟಿದವರಲ್ಲಿ ಬಹಳ ಒಳ್ಳೆಯ ಹೆಸರು, ದೊಡ್ಡ ಹೆಸರು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಪ್ರೊಫೆಸರ್ ರಘುವಾಚಾರ್ಯರು. ಆಗ ನೀವೀಗ 45 ಜನ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ ಎಂ ಎ ಕ್ಲಾಸಲ್ಲಿ. ಅವರು ಪ್ರಾರಂಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಅವರು ಬಂದಾಗ ಇಬ್ಬರು ಇಟ್ಟಿದ್ರಂತೆ. ಇವರು ವಿಶ್ವವಿದ್ಯಾಲಯದ ಅಕಾಡೆಮಿಕ್ ಕೌನ್ಸಿಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬಹಳ ತಾರ್ಕಿಕವಾಗಿ ಮಾತಾಡಿ, ಫಿಲಾಸಫಿ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟದ್ದು. ವಿಜ್ಞಾನ ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳು ಓದಬಹುದು, ಎಂಜಿನಿಯರಿಂಗ್ ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳು ಓದಬಹುದು, ಕಲಾ ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳು ಓದಬಹುದು ಅಂತ ವಾದ ಮಾಡಿ ತತ್ವಶಾಸ್ತ್ರದ ಎಂ ಎ ಪ್ರವೇಶವನ್ನು ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಸಿಗೋ ಹಾಗೆ ಮಾಡೋದು, ಅದು ದೊಡ್ಡದು. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಫಿಲಾಸಫಿ ಡಿಪಾರ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ಪೇಸ್ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ಸ್ ಇರೋಬೇಕು ಅಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಜನ. ನಾನು ಓದ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ನಾವು ಗಂಡು ಹುಡುಗರು 16 ಜನ ಇದ್ವಿ, ಹೆಣ್ಣು ಹುಡುಗರು 17 ಜನ ಇದ್ವಿ. ತುಂಬಾ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಅವರು ವಿಭಾಗವನ್ನು ನಡೆಸಿದ್ರು. ಅವರನ್ನು ನೆನೆಸಿದಷ್ಟು ನಮಗೆ ಸಂತೋಷವಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅದರ ಕಾರ್ಯನಿಮಿತ್ತ ಇವತ್ತು ಅವರ ಈ ಆನಿವರ್ಸರಿನ 112ನೇ ಆನಿವರ್ಸರಿ ಹಚ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಶ್ರೀ ಸಚ್ಚಿದಾನಂದ ಅವ್ರ ಮಗ, ಅವ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಮಾತಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ನಾನು ಕೇಳ್ಕೊತೀನಿ. Sridhar, please come.
ಬನ್ನಿ.
ಪ್ರಾರ್ಥನೆ ತುಂಬಾ ಸುಂದರ. ಪ್ರಾರ್ಥನೆ ಶ್ರೀಮತಿ ದಿವ್ಯಾ ಸಚ್ಚಿದಾನಂದ ರಾವ್.
संजीवयत्यखिल शक्तिधर स्वधाम्ना अन्यांश्च हस्तचरण श्रवणत्वगादीन् प्राणान् नमो भगवते पुरुषाय तुभ्यम्. This shloka comes in the Srimad Bhagavatam. It is uttered by Dhruva when he has a vision of Bhagavan Narayana. He says, now you have given me the opportunity to speak, but also give me the ability to speak. So this is my prayer too. I came to this department probably in the 60s. I lived for a very short while in Mysore. My father was the professor here. My mother was teaching sociology in Bangalore. She got a transfer to Mahani's College in 65. So I was here only between 65 and 68. I finished my PUC and went away to IIT Madras. After that I did my MBA in Calcutta and I was all over the world, but I did not live in Mysore. I came to this department in the 60s. Thanks to great people like Professor Venkatesh and Professor Sheshagiri, this department is thriving. And they sent me the souvenir from the 1918 centenary celebrations of the philosophy department. Have you people seen that book?
Some of them I've seen.
It's a wonderful compilation of articles. And that was very inspirational for me. Professor Sheshagiri has been in touch with me since then. And he said that I should come and participate today. I immediately agreed because this is my way of paying tribute to this. This is the book. These two gentlemen have created this book. It is full of wonderful articles covering the work of professors for the last 100 years in this department. Something remarkable. And so, you know, for me, I am a Pandita Putra. Pandita Putra Parama Pamaraha, they say. I am actually not even 100 of my father. But my respect and tribute can still be given. I retired from a world of technology. I was the vice president of a very big company, the world's biggest medical technology company, General Electric. And I retired from my position in 2014. And I began my second Janma after that, studying Sanskritam and philosophy. And so I think I can make a humble attempt today to speak. Am I speaking at the correct pace? Is it clear to everybody?
Yes.
So, to speak about my father, I thought that what I should do is read to you some excerpts from an article that appeared on his passing away in the Arts Journal in 1993. This was written by Professor K. Sheshagiri, who was the principal of the Purna Prajna Sanskrit College in Udupi. So I think this is a good way to do it. The University of Mysore has had the honor of having in its Department of Philosophy a galaxy of distinguished scholars of outstanding merit and erudition. Dr. S. Radhakrishnan, Professor A.R. Wadia, Professor N.A. Nikam, who headed the department successfully, brought glory, fame and prestige to the university. When Professor S.S. Raghavachar assumed the headship of the department in 1966, it was a full-fledged department of postgraduate studies and research. Professor S.S. Raghavachar vigorously vindicated his position as the head of the department. As a backdrop to his achievements as a scholar, a short biographical note is given below. Sthanikam Singarayangar Srinivasa Raghavachar, henceforth simply Sri SSR, hailed from a family of scholars belonging to Melkote, the famous pilgrim center of Sri Vaishnavas. Melkote is not very far from Mysore. When Sri Ramanuja, founder of the Vishishtadvaita school of Vedanta, fled from the south to escape from the persecution of Shaivas and found asylum in Melkote, some trustworthy disciples accompanied him, and one of them was Sri SSR's remote ancestor. In fact, we have a house right opposite the temple given to us by Ramanujacharya himself. Sri SSR's father was also a scholar, Singarayangar, in Tarka and Vishishtadvaita, Vedanta, and was associated with the famous temple of Chelunarayan Swami in Melkote. The Mysore Maharaja had given my grandfather a silver kada, but unfortunately my grandfather passed away when he was only 33. He went to Tirupati to celebrate the birth of my father, and they contracted plague there. And so my father would never have remembered how his father looked. Sri SSR had his early education in the Sanskrita Pathashala in Melkote, which laid a firm foundation for his future pursuit of philosophical studies. Later on, he migrated to Mysore in 1929. He Dottupeteli Ashoka Raste antide. He used to sit under the street light and read. He was very keen on studies, but he had no money. He had no other patrimony than his noble probity, his first-rate ability, and his pinching poverty. Food and shelter were the two formidable problems that haunted him. My father has told me he was walking in Gontikopal and Ramakrishna Ashrama had just started at that time, and he went in, and that Swamiji saw a bright intelligence in my father's face, and he said, "I will help you. You are a poor Brahmin." He used to eat in different houses every day, only one meal. That is how he grew up. A kindly teacher of the high school, Sri N.A. Sampat Kumarachar, who saw the plight of the poor boy Raghavachar, took him to his friend Sri K. Rangaswamy Iyengar, an engineer who lived at Doddapet. The latter offered Sri SSR both food and shelter till he completed his education. In 1934, he obtained the second rank in the intermediate examination for the whole state. Soon he joined the BA Honours course in Maharajas College and majored in social philosophy in 37 and 38. He obtained his master's degree in philosophy. In both the examinations, he got first class and first rank and won 2 gold medals. As a student, he had merit scholarship. As a student in the college, Sri SSR was a gifted debater. There was not an important debate in which he did not participate. He brought laurels to the Maharajas College by participating in the debates held at other university centers. His popularity among the students was conspicuously expressed by his being elected the Vice President of the University Students' Union, the highest honor that a student could aspire to in those days. The erstwhile Mysore state had its own civil service examination, which attracted the best university products. After he came out of the college, Sri SSR took the civil service examination but narrowly missed the rank. However, his failure to get a rank was a desirable gain to the university. He soon got a fellowship and later on entered the Department of Philosophy, Maharajas College, as a lecturer and worked under the inspiring guidance of Martinet Professor A.R. Wadia. He worked in Bangalore, Mysore, Shimoga, Kolar, Chikmagalur and Davangere. During his stay in Mysore, Sri SSR had maintained close contact with Mahamahopadhyaya, Lakshmipuram Srinivasacharya and Professor Giriyanna, the two venerated scholars in Indian philosophy. Sri SSR's unimpeachable knowledge of Western philosophy, his own scholarship in Sanskrit and his enviable mastery over the English language aligned themselves in such a delectable way as to enable him to produce works of outstanding merit. It was in Davangere that Sri SSR, despite the meager literary facilities in that place, produced his first work, namely Introduction to Vedartha Sangraha of Sri Ramanuja, with the help of Swami Adideva, under the guidance of Swami Adidevananda. A copy of that book was sent to Professor Nikam, who was then the head of the Department of Philosophy, Maharajas College, Mysore. He was so much impressed by the excellence of the work that he felt that Sri SSR did no longer deserve to be in the unmerited oblivion in which he was thinking. He was teaching logic to intermediate students in Kolar. Professor Nikam said, no, this man is too brilliant to be doing that job. So he got him transferred to Maharajas College, Mysore. This was in 1956. In 66, Sri SSR was appointed the head of the Department of Postgraduate Studies and Research in Philosophy at Manasagangotri here, which place he held with distinction. He worked with remarkable ability and commendable thoroughness. During his tenure, he brought a change in the syllabus for the MA degree course, which enabled a student to specialize in Indian philosophy also. In 1939, this is very interesting. In 1939, when Sri SSR was beginning his career as a teacher in the Maharajas College, he read a paper on the Buddha at the Buddha Jayanti celebrations held under the auspices of the Maharajas College Philosophical Association. Sri A.S.R. Chari, Buddhist by conviction, who was then one of the judges in the erstwhile Mysore State Chief Court, presided over the function. He was so impressed by the quality of Sri SSR's paper that he sent the paper to Dr. Kalidas Nag, an eminent scholar of Calcutta, who was then editing a prestigious journal. When the paper was published, it attracted the attention of a scholar jurist by the name of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, who in his book entitled The Buddha and His Dhamma quoted excerpts from Sri SSR's paper in full appreciation. So, Dr. Ambedkar has acknowledged the influence of Sri SSR in his conviction in Buddhism. In his own book, The Buddha and His Dhamma is a very famous book. Sri SSR was a great admirer of Sri Ramakrishna and Swami Vivekananda and had assimilated the core of their teachings. Since his student days, he was in close touch with the Ramakrishna mission and its activities, and the number of lectures he had delivered at various centers and elsewhere are legion. His contributions and reviews to various philosophical journals, both Eastern and Western, crossed more than a century. Sri SSR had endeavored in his writings to be integrated with the metaphysical masters in order to fulfill the triumph of a true universality. I will tell you a very nice story in the end about this. Sri SSR wrote many books. They displayed his comprehensive knowledge. Actually, I don't have a list of all his books. I have got only about a dozen, but I think he has written more than 25 books. And he is the only person to have won 3 Golden Jubilee Awards from Mysore University in 1970, 1973 and 1978 for his various books on Vishishta Advaita, Advaita and Dvaita. I will now read an excerpt from his, what do you say, Professor? Shall I read an excerpt from his writing? Because I think that will give an idea about what kind of a scholar he was. The soul of the universe is identified with the soul of the individual. The universe and the individual are adjectival to Brahman. The substantive is one and the adjectives are many. The unity of the substance in and through the diversities of the modes is affirmed. The reality of the modes, the plurality of the modes, their total dependence on the substance and the singleness of the substance are all affirmed in that thou art. This is the summary of the import of the discourse of Sri Ramanuja inculcating Tattvamasi. This is Introduction to Vedanta Sangha from that book. I will continue. It's a vain effort to seek support for the Advaita interpretation of that thou art in the concept of the indeterminate and attributeless absolute. Determinateness and attributes cannot be got rid of so easily. That the ground of the cosmos, the undivided consciousness, may not be the cause of the world in a real causal process issuing in real effects. Such a causation would no doubt imply attributes of Brahman like absolute power and absolute knowledge. But even if it is regarded as merely a substratum of the cosmic illusion, attributes and determinations cannot altogether be eliminated. Phenomena are not rooted in reality in the way in which real products are rooted in real sources, but they do presuppose conditions that render the superimposition possible. ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ನಾನು ಒಂದು ಹಗ್ಗನ್ನ ಹಾವು ಅಂತ ಅನ್ಕೋಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಹಗ್ಗನೂ ಇರಬೇಕು ಪ್ರಪಂಚದಲ್ಲಿ, ಹಾವು ಇರಬೇಕು. ಅವೆರಡೂ ಇದ್ರೇನೆ ಒಂದನ್ನು ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಅಂತ ಅನ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದಕ್ಕೆ. Suppression of the real is the precondition for the substitution of the unreal. The suppression is not total, for the real must and does shine somewhat through the unreal. Its total concealment would obliterate its self-evident, undeniable character. An illusion, what is an illusion? An illusion is the outcome of a deficiency in the cognitive machinery. The deficiency cannot be illusory. ನಾನು ಒಂದು ತಪ್ಪನ್ನು ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಆ ತಪ್ಪನ್ನು ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳುವಂತ ಸ್ವಭಾವ ನನ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಇರಬೇಕು. ಅದಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು, ಇದು ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಕ್ಕಾಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಇದರಿಂದಾನೇ ಅದು ಹುಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದು ಆಭಾಸ. The deficiency cannot be illusory, for it is the presupposition of the illusion. If there is only a single perfect reality, by the side of which there is nothing else, there is no possibility of false appearance. The deficiency, being pre-phenomenal and therefore non-phenomenal, must be a characteristic of that single principle or be an independent entity. Either way, a Brahman with attributes or a Brahman which is not one without a second is a necessary ground of the possibility of phenomenal appearance. It is open to adopt a third alternative, that Brahman itself is that deficiency, one without a second. But as both a deficiency and a real substratum are needed for an illusion, the two former alternatives are better. Under this circumstance, how are determinations and attributes altogether avoided in the scheme of the phenomena? The evil, imperfection and afflictions experienced by the individual, which in popular theistic imagination serve as grounds for the distinction between God and the individual soul, are here pronounced illusory, and as such the individual in a sense is pronounced to be one with the universal absolute consciousness, that is Tattvam Asi. Evil may be illusory, but the liability to the illusion of evil is no less an evil. That stands incontrovertibly as a characteristic of the individual. To treat that liability also as an illusion does not abolish the problem but pushes it backwards. The perception of the real unreal implies a real liability to such misconception. How then can the individual be considered attributeless? In effect, if the distinctive attributes of God and the individual are judged to be unreal and phenomenal, the common consciousness in God and the individual may be thoroughly identified, but that consciousness is not attributeless. It may be without the attributes of perfection ascribed to God, but cannot escape attributes of imperfection and liability to imperfection characteristic of the individual. There is identity no doubt with the Supreme, but the Supreme is divested of its supremacy and it is a seat of evil, the redemption from which is sought through the understanding of that identity. So, the choice ultimately is not between an attributeless absolute and God qualified by attributes, but between a supreme characterized by perfection of attributes and a universal consciousness characterized by the attributes of imperfection. The Upanishads in general and the text Tattvam Asi in particular stand for the supreme that is perfect in its attributes. That in substance is the contention of Ramanuja. The purport of that thou art, according to the Vedartha Sangraha, is to affirm the glory of the Supreme as the immanent soul of the universe, of nature and individual souls. The purport of that thou art, according to the Vedartha Sangraha, is to affirm the glory of the Supreme as the immanent soul of the universe, of nature and individual souls. That universe constitutes an adjective of the Supreme. This was an extract I wanted to read to you. I will tell you 3 incidents in my father's life. My father had gone to Kanchipuram in the Varadaraja temple, he was sitting and reading Srimad Bhagavatam. Every day, for many days, sitting in the corridor, Prakara Chetwala Ali. One Ramakrishna Mission Swamiji came for darshan. He saw one devout man reading the Bhagavatam, so he stood there for some time and heard him for some time. This happened day after day. Then the Swamiji asked him, "Who are you, sir?" Of course, this man bowed down to the Swamiji. The Swamiji turned out to be Adidevananda. Adidevananda is a very great scholar. Great, he was a Kannadiga, senior Swamiji of Ramakrishna Mission, who was in Mangalore, Bangalore, and finally Velur Mutt. D.V. Gundappa has written Jivana Dharma Yoga in Kannada. It's a great book. It won the Sahitya Academy Award. He has put in the foreword that I was inspired to write this book after reading the book of Adidevananda on Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So Adidevananda was a great scholar. So my father got acquainted with Swami Adidevananda, who later insisted that all the great books of my father were published by Ramakrishna Mission. You will be interested to know Ramanuja on the Gita, Sri Ramanuja on the Gita is in its 5th edition. It was released on the 1000th anniversary of Sri Ramanuja in 2017 by Yetiraja Mutt. It's the 5th edition. It's in English. My father's book, Naishkarmya Siddhi translation, was published by the Mysore University. The book is the textbook in Ramakrishna Mission for all their sannyasis to read on Advaita. My father's book on Vedanta Sangraha and the introduction to Vedanta Sangraha introduced him to the world. The extract I read now is his first book. He was only 40 years old when he wrote that book in Davangere and Kolar. Second story I want to tell you about my father is when Bertrand Russell passed away in 60s. You know Bertrand Russell, the greatest philosopher of the 20th century, Nobel laureate, Principia Mathematica. He wrote a book on mathematics which won the Nobel Prize. Fantastic brain. People say in his last days he was a Buddhist by conviction. He passed away. The Rotary Club of Mysore, opposite Maharaj College, they wanted to hold a function to honor his memory. They fixed the date for the function, but they could not find a speaker. So that morning at 11 o'clock, they somehow found out about one SS Raghavachar. They came to Raghavachar's house in Jalakshmipuram. They said, "Sir, we are going to conduct for the whole of Mysore city a tribute function to Bertrand Russell. Bertrand Russell is one of the greatest philosophers. To read him, he wrote ABC of relativity. See, even Einstein proposed a theory of relativity. No, the people said, we don't understand this. Of course, you are a great man. We understand you are very great. We also understand that you have proposed the theory of relativity, but we don't understand it. So Einstein said, what can I do? He found Bertrand Russell. Bertrand Russell said, I understand relativity and I know how to make people understand it. So he wrote the ABC of relativity. Such a great scholar. So the Mysore city wanted to give a tribute and they had not found any speaker. So they came to my father and said, "Sir, we want you to talk on Bertrand Russell." He said, "When?" They said, "Today at 3 o'clock. They gave him 2 hours notice. But he said, "Okay, because that is the strength of Mysore. Let me tell you, the water you drink of Mysore, the earth on which you stand in Mysore, it is blessed. by all the great saints and acharyas of the world. If a man is born here, he is already qualified. And my father lived here. He taught here, in this room perhaps. He was sitting in his office. He went and delivered a talk. Mysore did not stop talking about that talk for several months. This is the second episode. I want to tell you a third episode and close. In 1963, 1963, the University of Madras held a world conference to commemorate the centenary of Swami Vivekananda. Understand? Very big on Vivekananda. So they had more than 300 scholars from all over the world come to Madras. My father was one of the invitees. They took all the 300 people to meet the Paramacharya of Kanchi in Kanchipuram. Shankaracharya of Kanchi, he is called Paramacharya. So all these people came. Professor T.M.P. Mahadevan introduced. So Paramacharya said, so what is the theme of your conference? They said, the universality of religion. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa and Vivekananda said there are so many paths, but all of them lead to the same Supreme. So that is the theme. Paramacharya asked, so tell me, before Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, has anybody spoken like that? Saying all the paths lead to the same Supreme. Has anybody spoken like that? Do you know? One man in the audience got up. He was S.S. Raghavachar. He said, yes, Swamiji. Oh, where? He said, in Belur, in Karnataka. Swami Ramanujan said all the paths lead to the same Supreme. So there is a shloka on the wall. He said, what is the shloka? Does anybody know? Yam shaivas samupasate shivaiti brahmeti vedantinaha buddhaha buddhaiti pramana patavaha karteti nayyayikaha arhan nityata jaina shasanarataha karmeti mimamsakaha soyam vo vidadatu vanchita palam trilokyanatho harihi. Paramacharya was so happy that there was one scholar who remembered in 12th century we had this in Karnataka. That's why I say this soil is sacred. Immediately he honored my father. So with these three stories, I want to end. But I will end with a shloka. I read to you about Vedartha Sangraha. No? Vedartha Sangraha was the first book that Ramanuja wrote. Sitting in Tirupati, he offered it to the feet of the Lord. My father's book on Sri Bhashya won the Golden Jubilee Award here in Mysore University in 78. You know the Sri Bhashya begins with one shloka. I will recite that and close my talk. Akhila bhuvana janma sthema bhangadi leele nikhila vividha bhuta trata rakshaika dikshe shruti shirasi vidipte brahmani srinivase bhavatu mama parasmin shemushi bhakti rupa. This is the first verse of Sri Bhashya. What this says is, we are all protected by the same Supreme. He does not do any partiality. All of us are being taken care of by Him. I want to conclude with this universal thought. May we all be blessed to study well, to do well in our respective fields and make worship. That is what Swami Vivekananda also said. That is what the highest truth of Indian philosophy is. And I think my father lived for that. I am very grateful to you, sir, for giving me this opportunity. If I have made any mistakes, please forgive me. This is only a humble tribute. Thank you very much.